Wow. That game was dead. That game was dead. That game was disappointing. And maybe I'm going to sound a bit entitled. I don't mean to be, but the reality is that we have some of the fiercest competition in Liverpool and Man City right now, who both picked up points this week. For me, this game against United was the perfect opportunity to take advantage of a team that's in disarray right now. We're playing at home. Fans in the stadium are in incredible form. The fluid attacking football we've been seeing in the past few games, the famous win against Juventus, the game against Leicester, you can go on. And it felt like in this game we kind of went back to square zero, essentially. And I was seeing all the negative things that I've seen before, and I really thought that we had exercised and really moved on from. I personally think one of the reasons as to why this game really took us by surprise was by the tactical selection made by Carrick today. I'm gonna say that. And as I was watching the game, I was trying to think of the reasons behind why we're seeing a performance that looks completely alien to performances we've seen in other games. And I think the reason behind that is something we've seen before, and that's that when teams that play defensively like United's, that don't look to press up at all, they don't play with any high lines, they just keep that mid-block structure and pack men in the middle, that can affect how we play because we become disjointed, we become a bit isolated in times. And that's why it felt like all our attacks were solely down the left-hand side or the right-hand side. There was nothing linking the attack. There was no fluidity. And I think that Tuchel maybe wasn't prepared for this type of tactic that United had set out today. So I guess that's the only credit I'll give to them. But I have to say this was a pretty awful United performance. I didn't really rate them too highly at all, to be fair. And as I said in the title, man, this is a great point for United. But this is a disappointing draw for us because that tells you exactly what the levels are, especially this season. And I just feel like due to this surprise tactic from United, a tactic that we have seen before I remember the first game when Tuchel took over against Wolves, where they didn't make any attempt to press us in our own half. They didn't really look to play any football. They just cared to, stay in their own half and keep their shape. And by playing that negatively, of course, you're going to make it very difficult for us to break through you. And I think on top of this, what really exasperated the issue even more for me was having someone like a Timo Werner up front. For me, Timo Werner was the absolute mistakes used in the game today because we have to understand the profile of how this guy plays. Werner is a guy that makes runs in behind. He relies on the service from his teammates. That's what he does. That's what his best work was done last season. But unfortunately, that's not something that helps this current team because one of the reasons behind the successes behind the games versus Juventus, the games versus Leicester City, was the use of a false nine. A false nine like Havertz and Pulisic, we have the technical ability to drop deeper. They aren't playing close to a defender that make it very hard for them. When they drop deeper into spaces, that creates the overloads. And what happens when they create spaces in behind? It allows for runs to be made in behind. And by making those runs in behind, what are you doing? You are shifting those blocks. You are shifting them left to right, left to right, left to right. And that's why we look so spectacular. That's why we look so fluid. That's why wingbacks find themselves inside the box as well. And for me, it felt like playing Timo Werner today is like admitting that you expected a different game plan from Man United today. And it's just like, again, why was that even needed when our form's been excellent? And for me, it felt like another mistake in which we showed too much respect to a team from Manchester. There was no need for Werner today at all. Pulisic should have remained, and tactically that would have been beneficial for us because players would have had someone to link up with. Someone like a Ruben who wants to bomb forwards. He has that. He's playing the 1-2s off that false nine. He's able to break forward because there's a protection behind him as well too, and in front as well too. And it's just like having someone like Timo Werner, for me, it felt like we were playing with 10 men throughout the entire game today because he can't rely upon him. Those efforts he had on goal today, from one of those ridiculously poor Alonso corners today, he sliced the ball with the outside of his right foot, not even getting the ball on target from close range. It's awful. It's not good enough. I've seen too much of that. At the end as well too, when the pass is played into him, he's not even connecting with his foot on the ball properly for the shot. This was the main tactical reasons behind why I thought we looked so unimaginative and stale and stiff up front today, and why we looked so uncharacteristic compared to the other games we played throughout this entire month. That was the disappointing thing for me personally. We had options there, even using Mason Mount as a false line, which Tuchel did during the start of his tenure when he was our manager. That would have had a better tactical effect with the team, and I think would have looked a lot more fluid in the final thirds. For me, this explains the disjointed nature of the game today, and very lucky for Man United, to be honest. Extremely lucky, because in that first half, even though we had literally, I think, 2 opportunities, the best one came from Hudson-Odoi, which came very early on, and, you know, of course, as a fan base, we want to see him do better. But the reality also is that we know that Hudson-Odoi's finishing component in this game right now is not on that required level just yet. So to really be aggrieved at him missing seems a bit harsh, knowing that we know that that's not like an asset in this game that's being fine-tuned and perfected at this point in time. The other chance we had in the first half was that long-range effort from Rudiger. At least, you know, it was more on target. His shooting technique has to improve, especially if he's taking these opportunities every single game. And he needs to work on that, because we'll get onto that miss right in the end. Wow. But the only positive I saw in that first half is that we absolutely nullified anything United were doing. And I'm really stressing this in the first half. One of the reasons behind why we are so elite right now is that we stop teams on the counter-attack. We prevent the danger from coming. That's why this whole system works. That's why we're positioned how we are. That's why, you know, we are so great at counter-pressing. And it worked today by, you know, the great work rate and effort. And I'm going to give these guys credit for the work rate and effort, at least, from Ziyech and Hudson-Odoi, you know, closing down your Wan-Bissakas, your Alex Tellish's. And they were constantly just giving the ball away. You know, if they couldn't get forward, they couldn't get in behind, which stopped United attacking in the first half. And every time we pressed them, they were giving the balls back into midfields, either losing it or pass it to someone in midfield for us to counter press and outman them and win that ball back. And it worked time and time again. However, there was no unifying link to really get that attack working. And for me, this is why it felt like it was literally just like one attack down the left, one attack down the right, and nothing was linking it, and that was disappointing. And of course, you know, we didn't really create as much threat, even though we were literally playing United's half like throughout the entire first half. But I was hoping we see more. Unfortunately, that didn't come. The second half starts, and, you know, Tuchel clearly is getting these guys to bomb forward a bit more. Unfortunately, though, one of the baffling decisions today was from corner set pieces. And I think today maybe Thomas Tuchel was not at his very best. Of course, he's a world-class manager. You're not going to be elite in every single game you ever play until you retire as a manager. The game doesn't work like that. You know, let's have that perspective. But I did not understand Marcos Alonso taking corner after corner after corner. That felt just nonsensical to me. 13 corners or 12 corners this guy took. 12 corners. And is there any surprise that they didn't have much threat to them? They were easily getting dealt with by Man United. And unfortunately, you know, especially with this like gung-ho nature in which we attacked in the second half, where we just threw all our morals in that sense out the bin, we created that luck for Man United. For me, people will criticise for why Jorginho's at the back. I don't care. This is Jorginho. This is a player that's been nominated for the Ballon d'Or. This is a player that excels in these moments. For me, all he had to do was play it safe. Not play it smart, play it safe. You had 2 guys running to close you down. The ball was in the air, you had to head it. There was no need for you to try and control that or do a single thing. Could have headed the down ball out of play, and then we would have made sure we didn't make that mistake again. Of course, typical United fashion, do absolutely nothing and somehow find a goal in a game, this time courtesy of Jadon Sancho. And, you know, after that, you're looking for a reaction, but to be fair, I didn't really see too much of one. I was seeing players putting in effort, but as a team, and that's the thing I'm stressing on, as a team, we did not look great when it came to that final bit of our play, and that was our play in the final thirds. Now, I guess courtesy of just the sheer volume of corners we were winning, we had to at least profit off one of these corners, for God's sake. And that did happen in the end. And this was, you know, very lucky fashion. It came courtesy of Wan-Bissaka, who for me, no, it was an unlucky penalty, but it is a penalty. He fouls Thiago Silva. Great experienced play from Thiago to get himself in front of that ball, being alert to the danger. These details matter. And of course, and I'll give credit to Jorginho, he messes up, he makes mistakes, but he always rectifies them. Let's keep it fair with this guy. In came his classic hop technique. The ball went in the net. It was 1-1, and you're thinking, but like 20 plus minutes ago, this is the time to win the game. This is the time for Tuchel to make those subs. Take off Timo Werner, who was very poor today. I mean, some of the chances he had today. I mean, there was one effort from a corner where he absolutely sliced the ball with the outside of his right foot, and it's like, at this level, that damn ball has to be on target. That has to hit the keeper. He has to make a save. You have to force something. You can't rely upon him. And it feels a bit crazy that he was played today, and maybe Tuchel expected United to be attacking a lot more and for there to be advantages to be had in the transition. Too much respect shown to Man United today, and we paid the price for that. I'm sorry, we definitely paid the price for that, because for some reason subs are not coming until like the final 10-15 minutes, and it just was not enough time. And even the subs that were made were a bit puzzling. You know, we saw Reece James move to the left-hand side as a wing-back with Hakim Ziyech, and down the right was Christian Pulisic, and of course Mason Mount. Now, ideally, man, I want to see Puli more in that final third, looking to run at man, play closer to the goal, and create some havoc, win some free kicks, at least create some goddamn space. Of course, with his pace in behind, he created some good moments in behind, especially the final one in the game, in which, you know, he made the best run in behind. The ball found its way to Rudiger, who was unmarked right at the end, and you're just thinking, this is it. This is why you've been taking a million shots every single game throughout the start of this entire season, because you've been waiting for this one moment. You're that close to goal. You're thinking at least it's going to be on target. This is it. We've bagged it right at the end. And unfortunately, Rudy's shooting technique yet again let him down. And we blew the chance to get the 3 points today. I'm sorry, this was disappointing. If Rudiger had scored, that would have been divine justice, because beforehand, you know, typical United fake fashion, typical Anthony Taylor fashion, him and his team gave them an opportunity to have a set piece right in the end from a corner. And that came from a fake position because Ronaldo was offside. And the linesman was right beside him. I don't know how it was missed at this level. And Tuchel was absolutely fuming. Absolutely fuming, rightfully. And of course, Taylor wastes more time in that second half because United were clinging on to that point, wasting time after time after time, picking up yellow cards for fun. It wasn't good enough from them at all, and it wasn't good enough from Taylor, and to be honest, I'd say Tuchel as well today too. I don't know if the subs really helped. It was nice to see Lukaku come with the final 10 minutes, but he didn't touch the goddamn ball. And it looked like the same stuff that we'd been moaning about beforehand, and with how disjointed everything looked. And he touched the ball like twice, so was it even really a point for him? You guys, that's what I've got to say about this game today. It wasn't the best. Leave your thoughts and opinions below. And on that note, I'm EFC, this is Blue Lions TV. Catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.